What is going on, guys? Noon here with MMO Play, bringing you guys a first look into Dragomon Hunter. This is a new upcoming free-to-play MMORPG. Now, this game has some interesting concepts behind it, and if I were to compare it to anything, compared to any other MMOs or games in general, I would say it's a mix of Monster Hunter and Pokemon. It's a very interesting concept, but it's pretty cool. Now, the basis of the game is basically to go out in the world, explore, and as you fight monsters, you can acquire and pretty much obtain any monster you battle and acquire it as a mount, or some of them you can acquire as a partner or a pet to help battle with you. So just for instance, as you can see here, this guy has a huge turtle, and just about any monster you see in the world as exploring, you can pretty much acquire as a pet. Now, before we get into the combat and kind of show off how the game plays in general, I kind of want to show off some of the pets or the mounts I've acquired, which makes this game fun. Now, as for the questing and level progression in the game, it's very, very simple. You kind of run one quest at a time, with maybe one or two side quests here and there. But generally, you're going to be running the main story quest all the way to the end, or what I've noticed so far is the main story quest all the way up to where I am now, which is level 20, and the progression's very, very quick. Now, once you gotta hit end level, it's pretty much a grind to fight these big party bosses, which are much stronger versions of the monsters in the area, and they do require a lot of people to fight. And I fought a few of them, and it does take quite a few people to take them down. Probably 10 to 20 people, which is pretty tough, and they do a great deal of damage. Make the game pretty fun. I think the end game will be pretty interesting as well. But getting right into the mounts and the other stuff I've acquired, let's go ahead and show off a few of the mounts I've acquired. Starting off with this one over here. Let's go ahead and if we zoom out. No, as far as we can zoom out. And the reason why I kind of compare this to Pokemon is because you do want to acquire and collect a lot of these different monsters. And not only that, a lot of these monsters have a lot of similarities to some Pokemon that I've noticed. If you kind of put a list of the monsters you can acquire in this game and some Pokemon that are around, you'll see some similarities. There's got to be some inspiration to this game behind Pokemon. So as you can see, we got a cool one over here. Let's go ahead and switch. We got a crab over here. This one's pretty cool. This is one that you get early on. And let's go ahead and check this one out. This one's, it's like a, I guess it's like a platypus. This one's a pretty interesting one. Not one of my favorites, but I mean, it's pretty cool. It's pretty funny. I kind of like how your guy surfs on it when you kind of move around. And trust me, there are some really, really big mounts in the game. As you saw that turtle, there are mounts that do get bigger than that. So some of the monsters you can acquire are pretty ridiculous, making the game pretty fun. So let's keep going on. We got this one over here. So this one's a pretty interesting one. It's pretty cool. And then you get this one right off the bat. This one reminds me of a chocobo from Final Fantasy. If you guys ever play Final Fantasy, you'll kind of see where, you know, this kind of looks like a chocobo. Now, as for this monster, you don't really fight this one as you go along the main quest line. You will acquire this one just by default, but it's up to you to kind of acquire other ones and grind for other monsters along the way. So, as far as that goes, I mean, that's pretty much the basis of the game, is to quest and, you know, hunt monsters, which is why it's fun to collect monsters, you hunt monsters, and makes it a mix of Pokemon and Monster Hunter as well. So, let's go ahead and jump into an area. Now, this game is not open world, I should tell you guys. It's definitely not an open world MMORPG. It's more instance-based, and if I were to compare it to how it kind of works, if you guys have played Vindictus or Dragon Nest, it's set up in a similar manner, where there's a main city, there's a main city hub, and in the city there's various different portals to kind of go to these vast different areas, depending on what level you are, and that's where you go to quest or grind depending on what you want to do. So we have our main city over here, and we have a few different areas we can kind of jump along, explore, and fight monsters along the way. Now, as you can see, there's quite a few areas with tons of different monsters in between and all of them, so really there's a lot of exploration to do, and there's a lot of grinding to be done in the game too, if you really want to crack down and acquire every single monster you can, which makes the game fun. And I think the end game slash the grinding aspect of the game makes it a little bit more fun than mindlessly grinding for gear and weapons and levels. There is kind of an objective and a goal behind it, and some satisfaction to grinding and acquiring these new mounts to kind of show off to other players, friends, and other stuff like that amongst the main cities. So let's go ahead and jump into one of these areas and kind of show you how the combat works. Now, the combat is it's pretty nice. It's fluid. It works very well. Let's go ahead and jump into here. Oh, we don't have any quests over here, this little quest area. So let's go ahead and see where we can go to fight some more monsters. Let's go ahead and follow the quest line over here. Let's go ahead, might as well just follow our quest. Now there should be a tracker that pops up. There we go, there we go, there it is right there. So we can go ahead and follow that over here. And oh, the quest, or the portal we needed to go to is right over here. So there we go. So go ahead and go over here. Let's go ahead and we have a few different areas we can kind of select from. Each one with a good sized map in all of them. But I think we're gonna go ahead and go to the Crescent Bay. So there we go, we're loading on in. And there we go. Now let's go ahead and kind of show you how the map works. Now the map, as you can see, there's a little bit of map for each little zone, and you can explore quests and kind of go amongst yourselves amongst each map. And within each little map over here, there's a little city. There's like a little town or a little base of operations, as you can see over here. So if you are in here and you're grinding and stuff like that, but you want to put some stuff in the bank, you want to get some more potions, you want to craft gear and other things like that, you could do that without having to run back to the main city every single time, which is nice. I like that. I like how they set that up for every single zone you kind of jump into. So let's go ahead and fight some monsters and kind of show you how the combat works. Now the combat's pretty cool. I like it in this game, and it's pretty interesting for each class that you play. Each class can acquire 2 different weapons, which changes their combat or their playstyle completely depending on which weapon you're using. So as you can see, I am a cleric over here, and I do have fist weapons, as if you didn't notice. I do have fist weapons, or if I choose to, I can switch over to a hammer, a giant hammer, and this will change how my character plays and how each skill works quite drastically, or not too drastically, but quite a bit, which makes each class interesting and fun, and you do get a nice change of pace if you choose to switch up the weapons. So let's go ahead and start grinding on some monsters over here, kind of show off the combat, take some of these guys out. Maybe we'll encounter a party boss, which will be pretty cool, but not very likely because they don't spawn all the time. But if you do acquire one, don't challenge them alone. I'd highly recommend against it. At least get a group of 10 players or more, because I did try to take one on with a party of 5, and we just ended up getting wrecked. So as you can see, we have our skills over here, and they're pretty cool, they're pretty flashy, and pretty straightforward. We just spam amongst them, and pretty standard, straightforward skills you expect for a hammer. A ton of smacking and stuff like that. And what's cool about the clerics is not only do they do a good deal of damage, but they can also support the party and heal up other players, as well as offer buffs. But don't get me wrong, they're not a complete support class or a healer class. They can deal a ton of damage if you choose to. You just have to spec out into damage and other attributes and other stuff like that. So let's go ahead and keep taking these guys out. We'll switch over to my fist weapons and kind of show you how those work. Let's go back to my bag, equip my fist weapons. I really enjoy fist weapons quite a bit more. I think they're pretty fun, and they look really, really cool. But don't get me wrong, the hammers look pretty great in this game as well. Every weapon has some nice design behind them, and I think the higher level you get in the game, the gear and the weapons that you can get are really, really cool, and they look really nice. So let's go ahead and keep fighting these guys. I think the fist weapons allow you to be a little bit more tanky too, because it does offer you a shield, which is kind of nice. So it soaks up the damage. Not only that does it soak up the damage, but you can keep laying on damage as well. And when you use fist weapons, you actually get 2 heals. So I think using fist weapons, you can be a lot tankier while being a pretty good support as well. So as you can see, the combat's pretty flashy. Everything works pretty fluid. Really no problems I've encountered with the closed beta, other than maybe a few server issues. Sometimes channels go down. But it's nothing more than just basically re-logging into the game, selecting a different channel, and it should work. But it's closed beta, it's expected to have some bugs, they're just testing the game for now. But overall, it's looking to shape up to be a pretty solid game, and overall, it's fun. Oh, we got a captcha over here. Now, this is one thing that does pop up every once in a while in the game, is the captcha little test over here, just to prevent botting, which is a nice feature, but it does get kind of annoying at times, because it does pop up pretty often. I mean, I think about every 20 minutes or so, which could get pretty annoying, and only gives you 60 seconds to answer. And I can see that maybe being a problem when in endgame, when you're rolling with a party and you're fighting these raid bosses or really, really hard monsters in different areas, and maybe you don't have 60 seconds to kind of sit, or just like 10 seconds to kind of sit away in safety and type those in. So maybe they're just doing it for closed beta, but I mean, it's a good system and it's kind of a bad system, but overall not too bad. Not complaining about it just yet. So as you can see, I mean, the game is it's very simple, it's fun. I've enjoyed it quite a bit, and it involves a lot of you know, collecting and grinding, but the grinding is fun. There's a goal, and there's other stuff you can get rather than just you know, gear and other stuff like that. There's some goals and some objectives behind it. And to acquire any of these mounts or these monsters, basically you just gotta grind on them and hopefully you'll get a drop. And that's how I've acquired the mounts that I have. Is basically, if you find a monster you really like, there's a good chance that it'll drop a mount for itself, depending if it's a party boss. I don't think party bosses drop a mount of themselves, which would be pretty crazy, which would be kind of tough as well. I mean, it would be cool, but generally, most of the monsters you see just amongst over here, you can acquire a mount for. So there is a bit of grinding involved, but it's fun, and it's good for people who enjoy collecting and don't want to stray away kind of from the mainstream MMORPGs, where it's just quest, run dungeons, do raids at the end of the game. This has a little bit of a different approach to it, and I'm enjoying it so far. But other than that, if you guys have enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more. But until next time, guys, I'll talk to you later.